Welcome to Livewire's Undiscovered Fund Series for 2024. I'm Huntsley, great to have you with us. So far in this series, we have heard from some of Australia's leading money managers and the nascent but mighty funds they run. And we have another great interview for you today. Joining me is Jonathan Quigley, a founding partner at Cultivate and one of the team behind the Cultivate Agriculture and Food Technology Fund. Jonathan, welcome, great to see you.
Thanks, Hans. Great to be here.
Take us through the story, if you would. What led you to the launch of the Agriculture and Food Technology Fund, and what value do you feel you add for investors?
Agrifund that we have was established in 2022, and that led directly from some activity that we've undertaken since 2017, investing directly into early stage agri-food technologies that help support the change and opportunities we know sits within the agriculture and food value chain. The reason behind the establishment of this is from a range of factors. Our background's in agriculture, so we've lived regionally, operating agricultural businesses ourselves. Our experience sits within that broader sector, enabling us to have unique insights into the way opportunities exist and challenges are created, and what types of solutions come from that.
Yeah, and that work where you live and live where you work, I imagine it's very important, particularly to what you do. Now, of course, agriculture is one of the backbones of Australian industry. So I'm curious, where do we sit on a global scale in terms of technology and innovation in that space?
Look, I'd break that up into two parts. One part is the agriculture and the value chain itself, and the other part is new and emerging technologies that are created. Certainly at the initial agricultural sector perspective, we're very good. We've got a strong agricultural system. It's important to our economy. We're seen very much as leaders in many respects. There are some emerging challenges that are being addressed and that need to develop solutions for, but in a broader sense, our agricultural sector is first class. Leading into the development of new technology, traditionally, I guess laggard would be a good descriptor. We've traditionally adopted technologies that have been imported from overseas. But that said, we are catching up really quickly, and there's been a focus, an increase in exposure, and the broad development of technology within the sector that has led to us seeing genuine and legitimate opportunities at scale.
Well, that's terrific to hear. So with that in mind then, and all that you've just said, what does this mean for your opportunity set? And I do note that your fund targets 50% investment in local opportunities, but there's also some overseas opportunities in the fund, I understand as well.
Definitely. Look, we feel it's important to continue to support and foster technology that's locally driven, but at the same time acknowledge that we can't solve and address all of our challenges or create all the opportunities that we see moving forward. And so having that balance between global and domestic has been important in us fostering a portfolio that looks fit for purpose, operating with founders and entrepreneurs that are best in their class, but also with a domestic eye in supporting agriculture moving forward.
So let's talk about your process now, and obviously you sitting at the coalface of this particular asset class. What are three key elements that you need to see from a potential investment before you decide to put some cash to work?
Yeah, well, look, the key one is people, and I think that could be said for all investments, but certainly at the early stages. It's people from a founder perspective, and it's also people from the key hires at the early development of that particular business. The next piece is the need. What is the need for the particular technology, the approach, the IP, and understanding whether their approach to commercialising that makes sense and how that user experience looks from an adoption perspective within, whether it's the farmer at the on-farm level or those that operate through the value chain. And then lastly, the uniqueness. How unique is the approach? Is it something that we feel can sit there with a moat that operates with some form of competitive advantage over others?
If you don't mind, let's talk about some specific investments that you've made as part of the fund, and we wanted to obviously highlight some of the types of opportunities that you pursue as well. So if we could, maybe something from Australia to start with, something homegrown. Tell us a little bit about a company that you've invested in, what they do, and what attracted you to the investment when you were first looking at it.
Yeah, so we'll use the example of Zedify. Zedify is a last mile farm-wide on-farm connectivity solution. We first came across this founder, Dan Winson, in 2018. Zedify didn't exist then, but he came through our program, which was an innovation program in 2019 that then established a company, established some IP, technology, and they now have over 30 people based out of Wagga Wagga in New South Wales, driving product into the agricultural and regional system. This is the type of technology that is an enabler for others. So if we talk about the under-digitised element of the agricultural system and of our value chain, we need the connectivity and we need the data to enable the technologies that we are hoping to drive into the system to create those efficiencies and productivity gains. And Zedify is that key enabler where you've got connectivity to the farm, you've got connectivity from point to point, you've got the ability to switch connectivity on and off, enabling a low power usage and the ability to connect devices, create automation with farming systems like tractors, and I guess leverage some of the other technologies that we're seeing like low orbit satellite and things like that.
Well, can I just ask for the unacquainted, when you're talking about connectivity and data, what kind of connectivity are we talking about? Is it like Wi-Fi? Is it phone connectivity? What specifically do you mean by that?
It's both of those.
Yep.
So, I guess we take for granted being able to send a text or make a phone call. If you've ever travelled in regional Australia, you'll know that you don't have the same liberation of connectivity services, and this company is addressing that particular issue.
Got it, okay. So that's an Australian example, a Wagga Wagga example. Let's talk now about maybe an example of an overseas-based company that you've made in the fund. Again, the same questions to you. What does the company do that's unique or different? And indeed, what attracted you to it as an investment?
This particular company, Aruga AI Farming, operates in the automation and robotics world. So it's an interesting example where we have a cost of pollination for tomato growing in greenhouses in Australia 11 times higher than the Netherlands. So it's very expensive here due to the manual pollination process we engage in, with a lack of availability or allowance from a biosecurity perspective for bumblebees here. So this particular robotic system engages in AI, it identifies flowers, and with a pulse of air, pollinates the flowers in real time. It also establishes an understanding of pest and disease outbreaks, yield count, data solutions. It's got robotic arms to lift and reduce the trusses in these production systems. So, that is an example where an international company is able to commercialise due to the unique cost constraints that the Australian production system presents.
What else can AI achieve, everybody? It's just remarkable.
This company was very early on in AI.
Yeah.
It was dealing with it 7-8 years ago. It's not sort of part of the broader trend necessarily.
Sure,
but
yeah.
it is a real, use case of how AI is enabling, through vision and machine learning, actual outcomes in the physical built environment.
Yeah, it was there well before the buzzword as well. So, just generally and finally, Jonathan, if I can, looking ahead, where do you see the future looking like for Australian and global agriculture, and indeed agri-tech as well?
Well, I mean, global agriculture, it's one of those industries that's here to stay. It's not an opt-in, opt-out type industry. But we are seeing some increasing challenges around constraints from regulation. Corporates are having to become more involved in the value chain to understand where their emissions are coming from, and customer expectations at the consumer level feeding back into farmer systems. So it's an interesting time. It's a time where certainly the digitisation and things like automation and robotics, data and connectivity, the use of new technologies around genetics and solving of challenges for pest and disease. Never have we seen the kind of computing power that we experience in availability now that can help address and be closer to these challenges. But at the same time, that complex environment is allowing for opportunities to try and simplify things. So that's on the agriculture side. At the technology level, well, it sits hand in glove with those changes. The opportunities due to these challenges and new pathways of regulation are very much going to be driven and solved by technology. So it's an exciting time. It's quite a complex time, but at the same level, it's not going away. So we need to work within that in a way that, as I said, sits hand in glove.
True case of paddock to computing to portfolio. Jonathan Quigley, thanks for joining us.
Lovely. Thanks, Hans.
And thank you for joining Livewire's Undiscovered series. If you enjoyed that and if you want to catch more interviews from the rest of the series, you can go to livewiremarkets.com. Thanks for watching.